Let's welcome everybody into trade deadline day.
Chaos.
On the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. Wherever you're watching, listening, Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6. I think trade deadline day's today, not tomorrow at 3 p.m.
It's not even
Unofficially, it's going right now, boys.
Yeah, all these GMs heard I was about to come in here and take their jobs by giving fake trades.
Break
They're like, we got to get them over with.
It is fake trade day, though, to go with real trade day.
Since we went off the air to right up until this moment, 5 trades, 5 transactions. Sammy, does that sound about right?
Multitasking
doing stuff
here.
We usually do that professionals before the show.
I knew you were going to say it. I got it here in front of me. Just give me 1 second, Kipper. Where's that trade tracker? Since we went off air, we have had the Vegas Golden Knights acquire Anthony Mantha for a 2nd-round pick and a 4th-round pick. They retained 50% of the contract for Mantha. The Florida Panthers acquired Vladimir Tarasenko for a 4th and a 3rd.
Come on.
Adam Henrique and Sam Carrick to the Anaheim Ducks for a 1st-round pick and a
2
5th-round
Edmonton
pick.
Oilers from Anaheim.
Yep. And we had Colorado Avalanche and Philadelphia Flyers do Sean Walker to the Colorado Avalanche. Ryan Johansson goes back to the Flyers in a 1st-round pick in that one as well. And Casey Middlestat and Bowen Byram swapped. So Colorado gets Casey Middlestat. Bowen Byram goes to the Sabres. And the most recent one is Alex Wenberg for a 2nd and a 4th.
Mm-hmm.
So Alex Wenberg from Seattle to New York Rangers for a 2nd and a 4th.
In about 32 minutes, to be exact, we're going to welcome in Brad May, former NHLer, Stanley Cup champion. He's also going to participate in Sportsnet's wall-to-wall coverage tomorrow.
Friday. You're doing it again.
It's only Wednesday today. Why does it feel like Thursday?
It's been a bit of a hectic week.
There's just lots going on.
Lots going on.
I've done that 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah,
I've jumped like a day and a half to Friday.
Yeah, you see a vacation in the distance.
Yeah.
So once again, let me reiterate, Brad May will be in Friday, which isn't today or tomorrow.
Nope.
And,
But he is here
he's
today.
part of the panel, and we're going to be part of the panel. I don't know if you saw their promo board yesterday, but it had like the boardroom and then the players and then the like newsbreakers.
And then you guys.
And then Real Kyper and Bourne.
I haven't seen it yet.
They didn't give us a name. They just said Real Kyper and Bourne.
I haven't seen it yet, but last year they had it. It was like newsroom, boardroom, the players, and I'm beside the players. Now, keep in mind, I played, and I'm under a headline that just says analytics. It's like I wasn't as good, but like I played. I'm just the analytics guy.
Well, we'll find. We'll give ourselves a title by Friday.
Yeah,
how's
figure it
that?
out. Yeah.
Also, Jason Bukala, of course, he's done a great job on the Real Kyper and Bourne show as our head scout, a guy that's lived it, been in the trenches before this time of year. He does a great job of breaking it down to who's got assets, who doesn't, who's in a good position still between now and Friday at 3 p.m. So we'll look for Jason at the top of the hour to kick things off on our national edition of our show. But in the meantime, all these trades, Sammy, JB, none involving the Toronto Maple Leafs. Sammy, your Toronto Maple Leafs. How do you feel about that? The things are quiet right now.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm a little conflicted here because as a fan, you love transactions. There's few things that get the fan base as horned up as transactions do. Yeah. It really is a remarkable thing. But at the same time, I'm looking over these deals today, and none of them I'm like, yeah, I sure wish the Leafs did that. Like, can you talk me into the Adam Henrique one? Sure. Like, I guess you could have traded the first, but maybe that's just more of longing for a transaction. But none of the trades that happened today am I like, that changes them. That gives them a better chance of beating the Florida Panthers or beating the Boston Bruins.
Not to correct you, but like to disagree, I guess. Yes. Colorado got way better.
For sure.
I
agree.
Middlestat and Walker
Middlestat, who is the Leafs equivalent of Middlestat of Bourne Byram? Like, is it going to be?
They don't have it. To your
Exactly.
point, they couldn't have made that deal.
Yeah, that one to me is not even really a Leafs equivalent. They're not going to be like, yeah, sure, we'll take
Lilligren.
David Camp for Bourne Byram or Lilligren for whatever. It's just, I'm conflicted. I want a transaction. I think they need help, but at the same time, they got nothing. Boys, I tried to do a fake trade thing today because you guys told me to do it.
Yes, we did.
I woke up this morning at 8:30 and I was working on it till noon. It's hard. Brad is in a really hard spot here. There is not a lot to work with. When you don't have picks and all your players kind of make what they make and you have no real prospects outside of like two really good ones,
Lots of
it's
no
hard.
trades and no moves.
You woke up and sweated it out for like 3 hours.
I was grinding.
Be Brad Tree living right
He's
now.
months
my
into
God.
this here.
And the moment you got named general manager way back when, this is all you've done every day
Yeah.
is look around the league and going, okay, how many picks have I got to work with? What do I got? Who can I move?
I just picture Brad sitting in front of a fireplace in the dark, no lights on his house, swirling a glass of brandy once in a while, just going, Dubas. Dubas. Just nothing to work with.
No, I really do. As I was sat down and tried to go through it and looked at I looked at Saravelli's trade board and who he had and thought about what they could do. They really are limited and they're getting left behind, like second round picks for Wenberg, right? They don't have
lots
one.
of seconds, yeah.
Like second round picks are a huge bargaining chip at deadlines.
Yeah.
They don't have one. First round picks, it's like if they trade the 2025 first round pick, they're not showing up for the draft. It's like they are really, really strapped. I'm not just coming to this realization now.
Mhm.
But when I sat down to do it, it's like I kind of felt for Brad a little bit.
Yeah,
I did.
I get it. So what have your thoughts been on the trades, Kip? Was there any that happened that you went, the Leafs missed a chance here?
No, not at all. I think, Walker, for sure.
Yeah.
Like that's a significant addition, I think, to Colorado, a guy that could skate, move the puck.
Mm-hmm. You think they, I mean, the price they ended up paying for him
That wasn't cheap.
wasn't cheap.
And the Leafs, I don't think were willing to go there.
I also think, they paid a first to Philly, but part of that is for the courtesy of taking Johansson off their hands.
So
So it's more like a second.
first, don't get involved until you get the sweetener.
Mhm.
So you're right. That was a second until they would eat Ryan Johansson's contract.
Yeah.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, still has another year. It's not like you're buying it the rest of the year. Does he still not have another year?
Is that right?
Like that's a significant.
Yeah, Kip, you're right.
Yeah, this year and next year.
Yes.
Now.
So I wonder-
So that's why it goes to a first.
Mhm.
And Seattle couldn't get a first for Wenberg. They tried really hard, but they couldn't do it. So they end up with a second and a fourth, you said, Sammy?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're a seller right now, you probably haven't loved how today has shaken out. Like the Tarasenko one is different, right? Because he had a no move and kind of only wanted to go to Florida.
Why did you cringe when you mentioned Tarasenko to Florida? Because you think they got better,
I do.
a lot better?
No, but that's just one extra guy. I know you've always kind of
He's a
even
wild card
you
for
haven't
me.
loved him. You've never loved him. And the 3 years we've done
Yeah.
this show together,
I think
you
he's-
bristle when he gets brought up.
I think he's high maintenance.
For sure.
I think he's a guy that he needs to be happy first, and then I can be happy for the team.
Mm-hmm.
I
But I
also,
can't be. I can't fake it.
I also think when you look at that package they got for him, he clearly motivated to go there because that was probably what ended up being the price. Wants to go there, is a UFA, going to the best team in the league, going to not be the number one scoring option. It's a really good situation for him to go into.
Yeah, he's probably going to be the better version of his happy
Yes,
self,
100%.
given that he's where he is and he won't play top competition. But Kip,
Where's he going to play? Right? I mean, who's he bumping out? How much of a power play can he get? And if he's not, is he going to sulk? Is he going to?
I sneaky like it from if you're a Leafs fan hoping for some sabotage. It's like he could be a dissident if he's unhappy and he's
Yes.
not getting
We've
ice he
seen
wants,
it.
the power play he wants.
We saw it in St. Louis.
And it doesn't always defend, with the ferocity of some of the typical Panthers players.
Now, saying that, I've been around the game long enough to understand if you've got a strong room,
Yeah.
then you can overcome a guy with, on occasion, drags his lip into the dressing room.
You know what my thought was? And if you're Florida, what you're hoping for is Marian Gaborik. Remember, Gaborik goes there at the deadline, kind of a one-way scorer. LA needed some scoring, and he ended up signing a big contract for them, and the contract didn't work out. But he was great for them on their first Stanley Cup run, or their second, whichever one it was. You know, he could be that. He could go there, be awesome for them, shoot it in the net a bunch, and all you got to do is win one cup, and you're happy.
There is some thought, too, that if the Leafs may have wanted to shore up some depth, they could add another forward, a guy that can slip in on a third-line checking role. Would that have been Wenberg? Would that have been Middlestat?
Middlestat I like.
You do, eh?
I do like Middlestat a lot.
I liked him a lot more earlier in his career.
Yeah, keep in mind, I watch Buffalo never these days. So.
Yeah, but he was that hotshot World Junior kind of star.
Yep.
That came out with a lot of sizzle and never found an early fit with Buffalo. I think he was sent down. He was hurt too, I think, on occasion. So it was a slow start. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but he's the leading scorer at the point that he got traded today.
He's
for
at
Buffalo.
47 points this year, which I like.
So he's had a good run.
When you score on a bad team like that, it says something. And I like that he's 25 years old. I like that he's 6'1", 200. Like I think that's a guy that can play and he plays two-way hockey. So, I understand, maybe he's not been what people thought he would be, but I think he's a useful guy.
To me, that's a really interesting trade from both perspectives because Bowen Byram was like...
Two teams giving up on a guy.
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's two guys... I wouldn't say... Yeah, I guess giving up. But Byram was, in that cup run, was a revelation.
Unbelievable.
He was
He skates like
he was
an
amazing player. And then he had the concussion issues, and he hasn't really been the same since. But if you get him back to 75% of what he was for them in that playoff series with him and Dahlin and Owen Power, it's like you're starting to really build something on the back end, but it's a big risk.
It is, but I wonder if you're Buffalo and you're not like, Colorado's going on these deep playoff runs every year. He's had some concussion problems. We're not going to make the playoffs. He can have 5 months off before we play an NHL hockey game to get right, get acclimated, and then you try to... You're taking, it's a high risk, high reward. Maybe he's injury prone. You never get the best of him. Maybe he's a top pair defenseman in the league that you're getting at 22 years old. So I like the risk on their behalf. If they think Middlestat's just going to be then I like the risk. The Henrique to Edmonton one. Yeah. I know we're doing the NHL hour here, but
we can do more.
I'd do that one if I were the Leafs. I would have done that one. Carrick is Noel Achari. He is literally Noel Achari.
You would have liked both of them?
Yeah.
No. And then what? You waive Gregor, or you just open up the room?
Yeah, it does. It certainly would change things.
That was expensive for Edmonton.
Well, yeah, because I didn't realize they also gave Tampa a fourth
pick.
and a fourth to Tampa to eat more money.
Yeah.
So yeah, first, a fourth, and a fifth.
That's not cheap.
No.
I don't know.
Leafs don't want to do
the
that.
Leafs can't. To Sam's point earlier,
it's the retention that's costing teams these extra.
It's they were down that path on a couple occasions in the last 3 years.
Mm-hmm. They've spent a lot.
They spent a lot already. Is there?
So for it's Henrique that's not enough if you're going to do this, because I know you're not opposed to all in. You've been pushing all in for a month.
I would like Henrique too.
Yeah.
I just don't know if that's going to put you over the top. Now, you're going to tell me that you've somehow found a way to get Colton Parayko here and Henrique, and now I'm feeling a lot better about the Toronto Maple Leafs and all in.
Yeah, but now you don't have a first, you don't have Minton, you don't have a fourth, you don't have, there's...
Did you see their draft in 2025?
They don't have one.
They don't have one.
There's no draft.
There's no draft.
Leafs don't need to show up.
The table will be empty.
Yeah, they might as well
Do
just...
they actually have no picks?
I think they have fourth.
No first,
fifth.
No second, no third, no fourth, 2 fifths.
So technically...
They have 4 picks in the last 3 rounds.
If it's a 2-day draft again, they don't have to go on a Friday night, and they can sleep in Saturday morning.
Just get pickled and wake up in the Sphere the next morning? Like, what did I miss? Who's available?
So if they find a way to nibble around the edges again and go get another Labushkin in the name of Nick Jensen or Matt Dumba. Will that make you feel better, Sammy?
Yeah, for sure. They
Okay.
need to add more players. They need to add another defenseman, if you ask me.
Okay.
Like, I would. It would make me feel better, but not otherworldly. I'm not going to be over the moon. But anyways,
What would Colton Parayko do for you?
I think would get a lot of people excited.
You too?
Yeah,
I'd like to see a big guy like that on the blue line.
sure.
I told you yesterday, I'm real nervous. 6 years left. I said yesterday 6'5". You said 6'2".
I don't think I said any
Height-wise?
No. Salary.
Oh,
6'5",
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And it's 6'5", isn't it?
No, it's 6'2".
No, it's 6'5".
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you steered me in the wrong. And I'm like, so dumb. I'm like, you're the producer. I'm just a dumb ex-hockey player trying to be a host. So I'll believe you, 6'2". And then it's 6'5".
Yeah, it's a lot.
But it's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
6'2", 6'5", a ton of money at 6 years to go. That wouldn't make you nervous at all.
Of course it would. But I just.
And I don't think he's playing that great, but then St. Louis wasn't playing that great, and maybe a shot of adrenaline to come here and play with Matthews and Marner.
Do you have any reason to think that that's possible even?
Yes,
Yeah?
I do. I think they were willing to give up the first for Tanev, and Calgary didn't bite, and I think it's still out there to play.
What do you think a cost for a guy like Parayko would be? Because I imagine.
I have a fake trade involving Colton.
Okay,
Parayko.
do you want
Throw it out,
should we get
baby.
into him? Should we get going?
Throw it
mean,
out.
This is a
Let me hear
massive face-melting blockbuster trade that's never going to happen.
Let me hear
Well,
your.
we're not here to do a
It's
little.
it's a Parayko trade, correct?
It is.
Okay, then that's what we want to hear.
And a lot of these bodies involved in this because, you got to send money out, right? This is something that they are having a problem with. And I sent some contracts out the door.
I hate these 10-player ones or whatever. 'cause
It's a banger.
I can't make sense of it. Okay.
Okay, so it's TJ Brody
Yeah.
as part of this. Connor Timmins is part of this. Bobby McMahon, Fraser Minton, Pontus Holmberg,
Oh my God, dude.
and Callie Yarncroc
After
for
team.
two first-round picks and a third for Colton Parayko, Pavel Buchnevich, and Alexei Topanchenko.
Hold on. Parayko, Buchnevich, and Toropchenko?
Yeah.
What's Buchnevich? What's his contract situation?
5-7 this year and next.
Yeah.
For Toropchenko and Buchnevich.
And you're sending 2 first rounders?
Yeah, because that's for Buchnevich. That's what they want for Buchnevich. And the other stuff is just to fill in the box.
It's too big a trade for me to make sense of.
Kipper said to me a million times
Yes.
that he wants to change the whole bottom half of
All
the
right.
team. I just did it.
You did it. Brody, Timmins, McMahon, Holmberg, and Yarncroc. 5 roster players.
Yeah. And you get 3 back.
I don't think I need to. I think I can get away with this trade without losing McMahon and Holmberg. I don't need to throw both of them in.
Okay, so then you're going to bring in another team to make. You're going to
because
trade
that made
to
the
make
money work?
Yeah,
But it's only, you're talking about $750
no. Like I mean, they both make.
between Holmberg and McMahon.
Yeah, they make $1 million and a bit combined, right? So you just like it's hard. It's really hard to make money work.
Listen, I like it for the Leafs. I like that Buchnevich has another year. Toropchenko, do you know his contract situation?
It's not much.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first 2 responses on the text line are you drunk? Are you guys all high?
Yeah.
Desired effect,
No,
baby.
I like the thought of getting a D and a forward like that for sure.
Okay. You just don't want to give up half the Leafs roster for it.
It honestly is too big for me to make sense of.
There you go.
Like I like the
Listen,
idea
you don't
of
care
trying to
about
get those
Brody.
guys.
You don't care about Timmins.
Nope.
Bobby
Bobby McMahon has never played like this ever in his life.
McMahon is a UFA, so it's useless. St. Louis doesn't want Bobby McMahon. Okay, they're missing the playoffs, and he's going to go UFA. It's useless.
Okay.
So
Pontus Holmberg has some value to them. Fraser Minton's at the high pick, 2 first-round picks.
Minton
You
and
want
the
to go all
2
in,
firsts
baby?
are what they're
You want to
after.
get nuts?
You want to get? Let's get nuts.
I like it.
You like it?
I like it.
Oh, yeah.
It's not. It needs work.
Of course.
Yeah.
No crap.
But-
I'm just
like
an
the
idiot.
first
Of course it
draft
needs
of a
work.
book or an article or whatever, you create the clay here and then you start molding. You start cutting and adding and
But this is also a trade that if it doesn't quite work out
You're done. You're done. You have no draft.
for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I know.
well, it would actually
done.
eliminate the Leafs from having a first or a second for 3 straight
Yeah.
drafts.
Do you want any other ones that I cooked up?
I mean,
They're
very
not.
much
I
so.
gave you I gave
Very
you the
much.
one I was closing with
Yeah.
first,
Yeah.
but that was
We
the
do.
first big
We
one.
want
Okay.
we want another one.
So
Okay, let's just
yeah, go ahead.
let's leave Buchnevich out for a second and just focus on Colton Parayko.
Well,
Trim that down to a Parayko trade.
Yeah, so trim it down for me. A first,
I think the contract
Minton.
is a negative asset. I think that it's that long on a guy who's going to be 36 with some injury problems and declining play is like they want to get rid of it to me. So I don't think it's a huge ask. I think it's, in a way you're saying to them, we'll give you a pick. We'll
but
give you the first, but we'll take that
if-
contract, that risk.
but if you're Doug Armstrong, and I don't necessarily disagree with you that I'm looking on outs of this contract.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to negotiate against myself with the Toronto Maple Leafs. I'll just go into the draft this summer and open it up to 15, 20 teams who may want to take Colton Parayko by then.
I hear that a lot, but I don't see that play out in reality a lot. Like, I don't know.
But you got a lot of time to still move this asset,
You do.
and people need defense.
For sure. And I think that the younger in the contract you get him for a playoff run, the more value it has. I would think now is when you could get a first for it. Otherwise, I think it risks become the OEL deal, as I mentioned yesterday, where you end up getting it bought out or something because he doesn't perform. And
Would a first Minton do it for Parayko, but they'd have to eat?
they have to eat so much money for so long.
No, you
Kipper.
just eat. Yeah, I know, but and then you have to take Brody.
Yeah, but
Throw
you
Brody
have
in
to
there to
pay-
take it.
Like, are the St. Louis Blues, and they're going to pay how many years left? They're going to pay $10 million for a guy
what are you talking about?
for if they're retaining on.
Oh, I'm
Parayko.
not looking for retention.
Well, that's what you meant.
No, I did not. No, I think that they can do this, taking the whole contract,
Yeah.
and just moving Brody's
Yeah,
number
for sure.
out.
Yeah, that's what I did in my trade that
Yeah.
is getting absolutely blasted by everyone. I love it.
No one likes anything.
No, it's great. I had the desired effect. You guys want another one?
I do. I also want this Parayko thing now to happen.
Mitch Marner for Sidney Crosby. No. Okay, next one. This is involving the Seattle Kraken and the Toronto Maple Leafs.
Yeah.
Timothy Liljegren, TJ Brody, Kalle Jarnkrok, a first and a third for Adam Larson at 50% retained, or 5% retained, and Yanni Gord at 50% retained.
Seattle's hanging up on people who call for their defense.
Hanging up.
Yeah.
Hanging up. They're not even having a conversation.
I had heard from someone that Borgen was you could get him.
I like that one, though.
That was this trade.
Yes.
Yes, Lily Brody and Yarncroc, a first and a third for Larson. Very specifically, 5%
Yes,
retained to
because it
make the
gets
math
you.
work.
Yes, and 50%.
That's how I know you did the work.
and
I'm very impressed.
50% on Yanni Gord.
And Gord has how many years left?
This and next at 5 something.
And Larson has this and next as
Yeah.
well.
Okay, hold on for a second. Do it again for me.
Okay.
I'm
TJ Brody.
with you now. I saw a squirrel.
TJ Brody,
Hold on. TJ Brody.
Timothy Liljegren, and Kalle Jarnkrok, a first and a third for Adam Larson at 5% retained, and Yanni Gord at 50% retained.
Okay, do you understand, though, that this kills Seattle? It makes them so much worse. They'll never do this.
If you're Seattle, you're saying
where's the
we
value?
like the
you're
first
you're
and the
doing it as a
third.
super fan right now
No,
for
you
the
like
Toronto
the
Maple
the
Leafs.
first and the third.
See,
Kalle
you-
Jarnkrok's a decent NHL player, and you get a young
a
upside
third line player
And
on a
Yanni-
Stanley Cup contending team.
similar to what Yanni Gord is. Yanni Gord's a better version of Kalle Jarnkrok to me.
And Lily
Why? Because he's tough.
Tough,
Tougher.
grittier. Yeah,
is competitive.
hard
He's
nose.
he's a playoff performer.
Yeah.
Yarncroc has yet to prove he can play in the playoffs. This
Anyways,
is not doing it for.
Oh, yeah, you're shutting her
Seattle.
down?
So you got to add
It's
then.
nothing. It's
Okay.
So-
making Seattle significantly worse.
So if you give them a first and a
They're not.
Minton.
They want to win now.
They do.
They're pissed that they've missed the playoffs. They think they're going to come back next year and make the playoffs.
Yanni Gord on pace for 11 goals and 21 assists, 75 PIMs.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
pace.
Hey, yeah, he's not having a
Like,
huge year.
No.
You got to give something.
Okay,
You gotta give something up here.
so if you throw in if you throw in a Minton or Robertson or something like that, it's going to do it.
Not enough value.
Okay.
You are getting. See, the real value
Okay.
in this trade
Mhm.
is Larson.
Mm-hmm.
And what makes him more attractive, besides being a real steady guy out there,
Mhm.
is his contract is really attractive moving forward here. I think he's got 2 more years at what, 4, a little over 4. Like it's
This year and
it's what
next
you
at 4, I
dream
think.
of for teams to have.
Mhm.
They're not giving it away.
Okay.
He might be worth the first and the third in that trade if he were for sale right now.
If he were for sale right now, you would be looking at potentially, a first and a second.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, the one I had was involving Adam Henrique, so I can't do that one anymore.
Okay, Henrique.
I had him. I had him to Toronto for at 50% retained for Nick Robertson and a 3rd-round pick, and
Yeah.
Montreal has to give Chicago. You have to
not
give
getting it
Chicago's 5th-round pick to Montreal to retain some of the money to make it work.
Not get it.
Yeah, obviously not.
First rounder.
Didn't
I
work.
told
Yeah.
you guys a long
You
time
did.
ago that guy was that guy was first round potential.
Yeah.
And the last one I have is involving Dumba at 50% retained. So
Okay.
you're giving them Liljegren a 4th in 2026 and Gregor to make the money work for Dumba at 50% retained.
Liljegren 4th. Yeah.
You really want to get rid of Liljegren.
Oh, I'm dying to. Yeah. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Like,
If you
listen,
just,
if I'm the general manager here
if
and
I'm
I
Arizona and I go Lily for Dumba, I'm very happy. If I'm Arizona, give me the younger player who might have some upside, who plays 20 minutes a night sometimes, and take my Dumba. But if I'm the Leafs, I like it too. He's better today, I think.
Yeah.
Can do more things at least.
Wow. So there you go, boys. How about that? I got to play with that Blues one again. That was a bomb. That took me some time, boys.
I appreciate the work you put into
Thank you.
these.
We're going to welcome in Brad May
I have
after
a
the break.
bonus Canucks one. Should I save the Canucks one for
Yeah,
the
on the national show.
Okay,
for
I have
sure.
the Canucks one.
Thoughts before we go to break on the Buffalo Sabres coming in? You want to hear Sheldon Keefe talk about the 9-3 loss?
I think we should just get to Brad May. He's outside the door, so we'll get him coming in here.
All right, you're the boss.
Yeah.
Brad May after the break. Mayday! 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 The Kypreos, Justin Bourne, and in studio with us, the delightful Brad May.
An essential part of our show for years now.
So he walks in. I give him a little of the man hug right there, and he's still a big, thick man with big mitts. And I'm like, it's just nice to give you a nice friendly hug rather than you beating on my head that one night behind the Hartford net where we ended up squaring off. And I'm like,
You guys fought, eh?
yeah, we fought. And I'm like, this
Dislike
is
or
stupid.
circumstantial at
This
the
is
time?
stupid because we teach every summer at Vern Buffy's
Oh, you had a
hockey
history.
school. Seneca College, we skate. And I'm like, this is how desperate I am to hang on to a career that I got to fight my good friend, Brad May. And the answer was yes.
Yes, in conclusion.
Hey, the one thing I'd say about that is there's nothing wrong with fighting your friends. It's nothing wrong with fighting in hockey back then anyways. It was your job. You're playing for the crest on the front of your jersey, and we all knew it. We actually made each other more valuable.
Yeah.
You know, the more partners you had throughout the league, and of course, as that dwindled, maybe the relevance of fighting kind of diminished. So, but Nick, it was always fun playing against
was
you,
fun.
and I looked up to Nick, and he's a few years older than me, but Vern Buffy's hockey school, summer skates, like we all
Adam
do.
Graves.
Adam
Steve
Graves,
Spott.
Steve Spott, Jeff Bennick, who was a player who never got anywhere.
Yes.
But we had a ton of fun in
But
the
super
summers.
rich right now, I hear.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
That's nice.
So he's doing way better than us.
Good for Jeff.
Genuine question. Do you dial back the violence on the punches at all because it's a buddy, or is it still
No.
you got to win a fight?
Not a chance.
No, not a
and
chance.
First of all, at that time, Hartford Whalers, Buffalo Sabres,
Yeah.
Adams Division.
Hartford was heavy,
Now,
I know.
maybe that wasn't the greatest rivalry, but when Nick was playing for the Rangers, I think we had another one in front of
Yes.
the bench where I think Nick suckered me in a pile.
not
But I think
No,
I got
I had to get
into.
he's bigger and stronger
get a head
than me. I needed the head start. Let me ask you about this week as we go into as we are right in the thick of things of the trade deadline. Were you one of those players that just went with the flow? Because I can recall playing with a lot of guys who really got nervous this time of year, and you could just tell whether you're in practice with them, having a beer with them, or playing an actual game that like, they're not snapping out of it until this thing's over.
Yeah, for me, I got traded twice in the trade deadline. So it was more about contract expiring, wanting to continue to play, not knowing where that's going to be. So trades were always exciting, great. Other than the first trade from Buffalo to Vancouver in my career, that was heartbreaking until you got to the next city and you had 24, 25 new friends and guys that, that wanted you on their team, and it was exciting. And then, of course, going to Vancouver, Mark Messier and Pavel Bure, fortunately, became my line mates for the rest of the season. So that was
pretty unbelievable.
Incredibly exciting for me. But I never, throughout my career, later in my career, obviously trade deadline days, you just didn't know what teams wanted out of you, or were they going to, invest in you further, longer term. So at that point, a trade actually is an opportunity for players. So for me, it was the greatest thing. I traveled North America. I got to play for 7 different teams, but Vancouver twice. I got traded back to Vancouver at a deadline, and had an opportunity to play in the playoffs, chase your dream. And the second trade at the deadline was a dream come true. I got traded to the Anaheim Ducks, and we won 3 months later.
Did you know the first one to Vancouver, it was coming, it was rumored? Were you a little prepared, or were you completely blindsided?
I wasn't completely blindsided. There was a change in ownership, change in management, change in coaching. And when that happens, there's casualties. It took a half a season to get there. I was kind of at that point, I had a shoulder problem in Buffalo. They thought I was done. What I'd like to say and look at those guys and talk to them today was I played 12 more years. That's awesome. They thought I was finished. But at that point, I mean, they're trying to build their team for the future. They ended up going to the conference final that season, the Buffalo Sabres, and then next year they went to the Stanley Cup final and lost to Dallas. So Buffalo made some great moves. For my trade, Jeff Sanderson came back the other way from Vancouver, and he was a great goal scorer for Buffalo and really, solidified whether he was on the second or third line. I'm not sure. But for Jeff, it was great. And for me, it gave me a new lease on life out in Vancouver. So trades are great for players if you're ready for it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's a professional sport. Until you're traded, you're definitely apprehensive. But the more it happened, or the more moves that I had in my career, the more exciting it was.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting because by the time you got traded to Anaheim, you were far enough along in your career that you're a veteran guy with a ton of experience. How is it going into a new room? You don't want to be the voice of a new room or be too overbearing, or kind of working your way in as someone who wants to be a veteran leader, but you can't kind of force yourself on people.
100%. So I learned that, and every team that you go to, you learn that, where the power dynamics are, how every room works a little bit differently. Obviously, it comes down to performance on the ice, but chemistry is such a big deal. One thing I can say about the Anaheim trade, and not making myself any more important than what I was, and I definitely did some great things in the stretch drive, and then, of course, the playoffs to win, but I didn't screw it up, right? We ended up being the winner at the end of the day. So understanding, when you go into that room, there's 2 young, dynamic players in Getzlaf and Perry. Teemu Selanne is the most gregarious, amazing person and player. I sat between Ilya Bryzgalov and Scott Niedermayer, and at that time they called it the dead corner because they both were very quiet. Either nobody wanted to talk to Briz, and Scotty's our professor, and he sat in the corner and he would read the paper in his book before practices. But Scotty was always prepared, and they wanted to liven up that corner of the room, and I don't shut up. So we had a ton of fun going into that locker room. But you have to understand that it's not going to be the same as what it once was, and your role is going to be different, and you have to wear a different hat, or many hats maybe.
Right.
We're talking to former NHLer Brad May, 1,041 games, 2,248 penalty minutes, and most important, Stanley Cup champion. So this is our Leaf edition of our show, Mayday. So let me ask you, we've been in rooms this time of year. Not only do you have a real general manager, you got 20 of them in a dressing room who constantly go,
all the time.
Well, what do we have? What do we need? Are the Leafs right now in that situation where they're having these quiet conversations going, boys, we need this?
There's no question. Every team does it, no matter if you're in the playoffs or not. Teams that aren't in the mix, they're looking for their future, how they're going to build their team, what picks are coming back. But picks don't matter to a player that's in the NHL.
Right.
Outside of maybe that young player becomes a player that's going to, take your job. But everybody wants to win. And in Toronto, it's close for them. They believe it probably more than we do, that they're much closer. They just played the Boston Bruins. There's no answer to David Pastrnak across the NHL, so I'm not saying it's a Toronto thing. But I'm sure players are talking about what they need, and I'm pretty sure it's probably on the back end. They're very confident up front, and maybe some grit, some way to make other teams uncomfortable on their third and fourth line. There's a lot of times there's little pressure points in games where I think a third line or a fourth line or that individual player could do something out of character to actually really make an impact. Who is that? Who wants to be that guy? And it's a great place. If I was a player, I'd be looking at this saying, listen, I'm on the Toronto Maple Leafs. How can I best make an impact? And I think it's pretty evident for all of us that watch it all the time. They can score goals. Their offense is, electric when it's on. But you got to be able to defend in those 1-2-1 games, really tight checking ones.
Yeah. Can guys change, going into playoffs? The guys who don't typically commit to defense, or kind of is like you are who you are and it'll come out eventually?
Well, I think always said that you can't turn on that switch, when you want it. I think that's where practice, and as much as a player and practice thousands of times in the NHL, not saying that I didn't like practice, but at the end of the day, you have to work your tail off, and it's more about focusing, paying attention to the details. And every coach is different. Every system is different. And the ability to change on the fly and adjust when you need to. But as a player, you don't have to wait for a coach to tell you what to do. Take that responsibility, take that ownership, and understand that when somebody is abusing one of your players in a game that you might be up a couple goals or down, Ottawa, Morgan Riley going back a few weeks ago, maybe that was a little aggressive, a little crazy, but at the end of the day, they went on a 9-1 run, right?
You think that's connected?
You know what? Not only that, I think it's actually given Morgan Riley a 2-week break that he desperately needs.
Good timing.
If you're the Toronto Maple Leafs and you're going to rely on him for the next 2.5 months, I think that rest is incredible. But it also gives ownership to other players that maybe aren't comfortable just reaching out and taking it, right? As a defenseman, play stronger, play better. But guess what? If you don't, they're going to make changes. And I think that's coupled with the trade deadline. Guys play desperate because they want to stay where they are, or guys play desperate because they want other people to value them.
It's been well documented over the last few years what Kyle Dubas spent, and it's left limited resources for Brad Treliving here. And you ask almost Leaf Nation, and there seems to be maybe a split. Keep going, go, don't stop now, or it's like, hey, pull the reins in a little bit here. There may not be much left here, so protect it. Where are you on this particular club, and maybe the thought of being aggressive for a guy like Colton Parayko?
I was going to say that, Nick. I think Colton Parayko, first of all, every team in the National Hockey League would love this player. Yeah. Big body, plays hard, awfully difficult to get to the net, a massive wingspan, and you can't teach reach, right? When you can break up plays, Colton Parayko can do that, and he also can skate. He'd be a great get. Here's the thing. If you're thinking the Toronto Maple Leafs with their salary cap and everything else can become a better team in a year from now, you're actually missing the value that you've already invested in, and that's already here, that's competing and is successful. Austin Matthews, an incredible year. I mean, their top players are great. John Tavares, I know people, and I've been one of them. That contract's a tough one for the Toronto Maple Leafs just because it makes everything else harder to fit into. But John Tavares has earned every dollar that he's made as the captain of the team. The question is he going to be, for the next 2 months, 2.5 months, are happy to be on the third line and actually, champion that line? Because right now that's where they're at. Mm-hmm. That time will tell for that. But I think their top-end players are great. If they don't go in and get a guy like Parayko or another defender, what does that say to them? These guys want to win. Yeah. And it is now. They believe they can win now. that doesn't mean that they will. But I don't think there's time to wait in Toronto at this moment. I don't think so.
They are in a window, and I don't know how long it lasts.
If you don't invest in this core.
That they are in their peak, and they've got experience, and they've been through some really tough times that should make their skin thicker for the next go around in April. Like, you can't discount that.
No, and you know what? These guys are. I mean, they're playing. They've got a great record or a decent record. Maybe we thought it was going to be even better, but they're positioned to do well. The bottom line, though, is they have to get out of their division, and there's some good hockey teams there. And the Florida Panthers just got better with their trade for Tarasenko. Now, you don't have to get. I don't think the Toronto Maple Leafs need more scoring or more offense. Maybe offense from the bottom six.
Yeah.
But I think they need more of an identity on the bottom six to be able to actually get out there and not only kill time on the clock, but change momentum when it's needed. For me up front, every player on their own, I think, are decent players, good players. But together, what's their identity? I still don't think that teams are afraid to play against that group of players. Certainly not physically.
They're not. Yeah.
And when you get to these tight playoff games, when it ramps up and it goes from a marathon to the sprint, because we're not there yet, the game changes, and it definitely speeds up. And every mistake or every great play has, an amazing effect. I'm excited to watch this year.
It'll be fun.
I think there's a lot of moves that have been made. Edmonton just made a move. I think Colorado just bolstered their team. Are they the best team in the West now? By acquiring those two players, we'll soon find out. But forget the West for a moment. I think Toronto's got a lot of hockey to play, and they got to play their best hockey. John Muckler once said to me when he was my coach in Buffalo, it's not the best team that wins the Stanley Cup. It's the team playing best at that time. And that's all you need to do is you have to bring your best. Now, the question is, when it gets tough, do you have any passengers? You cannot win with passengers.
You went into a couple of playoffs with arguably one of the best goalies in the history of the game in Dominik Hasek. And I think you could have looked at your lineup and go, kind of weak here, kind of not great here. But, oh, my God, with that guy back there, we can win on any night, any game.
And we were good enough. We had guys that, scored 20 goals. One year in particular, 96, 97, when we moved into the new arena and we changed our color scheme. And the Buffalo Sabres, Dom Hasek was a Vezina and the Hart Trophy winner. Yeah. And, of course, he was our team. But we had guys, Jason Dawn, Randy Birds, 25 goals each. Michael Pekka emerging as not only the Selke winner that year, Selke Trophy winner, Dixon Ward accompanying him, killing penalties, being that guy. We had a really good team then, but we also had an identity on the bottom six where, if the game got out of hand, and I know it's not going to happen like this the way hockey's played now, but teams got uncomfortable when they came in to play a bunch of idiots. And we were. And by the way, we were willing to do whatever it takes to win on that night. Yeah. And you know what? I'm looking at you guys watching right now. You have to be willing to do what the other guy's not willing to do to win. And you know what? There's nothing wrong with it.
I only see one team in the East that act like that, and that's the Florida Panthers. And they're idiots.
And you know what happened? Toronto played them last year in the playoffs. And yes, they won that series. The monkeys off their back in round one. But criticizing the Toronto Maple Leafs, that might have been the easiest series of the playoffs last year, the second round for the Florida Panthers.
Yeah, I think they might tell you the same.
And that would be, that the intangibles that you can't really put a finger on, but why is that player more of a competitor than the guy he's playing against? Body of work, a willingness to do whatever it takes. And, you got to trust your teammates. And every team going into the playoffs, there are teams that won't have full-on trust. Teams that do, they have a better chance.
So what do you think then of Ryan Reeves' situation here in Toronto? If you had asked us after 15, 20 games, we might have said, I can't see him playing out this 3-year contract. He's not going to get back into the lineup. He's had a really good run here for a month maybe. Scored a goal or two, a couple of fights. He looks energized, skating well. Is that the type of guy? Like, do you see him in their lineup that makes a difference for them?
He's making a difference today?
Like in playoffs, does he need to be in their lineup?
Well, I worked in Vegas as a broadcaster with the Vegas Golden Knights, and Ryan Reeves was a big part of that team, along with William Carrier and Thomas Nosek. But again, an identity on their fourth line. Gerard Gallant would play these guys, play them religiously 10, 12 minutes a night, and these guys actually made a difference. They were both in the top number of hits in the NHL, although I think the guy who was actually the statistician in Vegas probably was a little more lenient, a little more generous. But Ryan Reeves has that ability. He's got to remember who he is. The problem for other teams, or the advantage other teams may have, is they don't have somebody or a whole team that wants to even encounter that or bring Ryan Reeves into the battle. He has to find a way to not take penalties and still intimidate players. And by the way, intimidation is a massive factor, and you can't gauge it other than I know and Nick knows that we're on the ice, and when you knew that you were a little timid to play against a guy because you saw how ramped up and you can match his energy or couldn't, that's an uncomfortable place to be in front of 18,000 people when you can't get off the
my
ice.
Specialty here, because I'm the guy who's intimidated by people like you two who are willing to fight your mothers to get to the Stanley Cup. Like I played in the American League, and
hey, my mom doesn't like that, but I love it. I love that thing.
Sorry.
I love that
Stop playing with that.
It's our staple.
Hey, mom, my mom is a beautiful woman.
It is a theme, though, the willingness to do that. And I think you're aware when you're on the ice with or against people like that. And when you have them on your line, it's a lot of fun. So I do believe that it's an underrated quality is intimidation. And watching Luke Shen come to Toronto last year, stand between the benches
People
when Pat
loved that.
Maroon
Loved it.
The Leafs loved it. I loved it. They're running their mouth, and the Leafs didn't have anyone who would stand up, and he just stood there and just took it.
Even to watch
beat the hell out of Pat Maroon.
Wayne Simmons a few years ago having a conversation with Maroon across the bench gave you a feeling of attitude.
You could stand up to them,
right?
know?
I want to say, I might be wrong on this one, but 2 years ago, Kyle Clifford, right? Was
Yeah,
it 2 years
Clifford
ago?
and Simmons, yeah.
Unfortunately for Clifford or for Kyle, he made that hit.
Took a bad penalty.
It took him out of the series, but they didn't put him back in.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup and beat the Vancouver Canucks. By the way, Vancouver should have won that Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
We were all in on the Canucks.
Yeah.
Now, wait a minute. I shouldn't say should have. The Boston Bruins were so capable, and they won.
Yeah.
But Sean Thornton was inserted into the lineup in Game 3, and he made a big-time difference. Slapped a couple guys around, and there was no answer in Vancouver after 2 months of a long battle. And you know what? The Boston Bruins found some energy. And then,
Talk about identity. That line was with it, Greg Campbell and Daniel Paille, I think, with him.
And they had, of course, then Zdeno Chara, some big defensemen, Adam McQuaig. These guys, they were intimidating to play against, and it actually made a difference, and they won the Stanley Cup.
We're running out of time. We can go on for hours, by the way. No, it's not you. It's the time. I got to ask you about Rempe in New York. And all of a sudden, New Jersey trades for McDermott's kid. Paul McDermott's son is Curtis, big guy. Where are we going with this, Mayday?
You know what? Here's the crazy part. The world is telling us that it shouldn't be here, certainly hockey fans and the way everything's gone. Do you know that how much excitement? Rempe was skating in New York the last game they played. I was watching for a brief period, and he was on the ice. He made a play, and he had a standing O chant for him in Madison Square Garden.
Yes.
Are you telling me that people don't like this? People love it. And I can't believe nobody's ever said, hey, I want a refund on my ticket money because this team played too physical. It's an exciting thing. Toronto would love it. Every city would love it. And you know what? With New Jersey and New York, listen, it's nuclear weapons. If one country gets one, it's an arms race. And for that, I think for Travis Green, who's a buddy of ours, I hope he does a great job.
We got to get out of here.
Okay,
hey, if you love Mayday on Real Kyper and Bourne, go see him on Friday. Trade deadline day.
Deadline.
Come on in. This is the Real Kyper Show. And Bourne.
I'm also here.
I don't think I've ever done that before.
That's fine.
Kind of focused on me.
Doesn't hurt my feelings any.
Maybe the first week of our show you did that.
It is the national edition. It's like trade week. Makes you do and say goofy things.
Brain is too many places at once.
Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. We are the Real Kyper and Bourne Show. We are live on Sportsnet, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver and Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. This hour of Real Kyper and Bourne brought to you by Bet365. In a few minutes, we're going to welcome in Jason Bukala, former NHL head scout. Does a terrific job writing for Sportsnet.ca, Pro Hockey Group. He's going to sum up what has transpired in all of 18 hours, 20 hours, half a dozen trades, Sammy, if I'm not mistaken.
We have, since the Mantha trade, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I feel unprepared having spent the last 20 minutes talking to Brad May. I feel like we missed 3 trades that may have happened. Nothing major?
Nothing
Okay.
happened while you guys were talking to him.
If you weren't around for our first hour of our show, we had Brad May, former Vancouver Canuck, twice. I had to remember that. He had to remind me that twice he was a Vancouver Canuck. Anyways, he was fantastic. If you get a chance, download us wherever you get your pod and listen to the entirety of having Brad May in our studio.
I love in-studio guests, boys.
He's just so candid, right?
Yeah.
And he's a smart guy. He's an intelligent guy. He just don't last 20 years in the National Hockey League playing a role without social skills, hockey skills.
Let alone his run in media since. I mean, people want to hear what he has to say.
And just had some great thoughts on a ton, including on the Rempe Reeves and where we're going with all of that. So once again, if you get a chance, download it. It's a terrific listen. Now, where do you guys want to start off in terms of the latest of the trades? Let's just go to the Edmonton Oilers because I like the trade for Adam Henrique. I think he gives them a tremendous look as a 6 to 9 forward, and he's got skill. I mean, he's not the best skater, but he's a smart guy that finds a way to make a difference on a hockey club. I think it's a great pickup, and Carrick's another depth guy. It wasn't cheap, but here's the but. Both these guys don't play defense either, and I think they're still a little vulnerable there.
You know, it's interesting. I really like the addition of Henrique, and I saw a stat yesterday, and forget where I saw it, but in the last 600 minutes of hockey without McDavid or McLeod on the ice, the Oilers have about 6 goals. Like, they just don't score when McDavid and Draisaitl are not on the ice. I feel like I didn't say that very well, but they don't score, and those guys aren't on the ice. So it is another guy who can give them some scoring, but also play some two-way hockey. I think Sam Carrick is a Coke machine of a player. He's just tough to run into. Great. But I'm with you that it would be tough to go into it and be like, we're going to do Kulak, Ceci, Desharnais, and we're going to win a Stanley Cup. Bouchard makes some defensive errors. So it's great. I like it. Deadline hasn't passed yet, but I do think that they need to make an addition or two on the back end.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. But, boy, they do score a lot when McDavid and Draisaitl are on the ice.
I mean, they score unfathomable.
That OT goal last night was just beautiful.
You guys can vouch for me in the group chat when it was 1-0 Boston. I was like, you're not shutting these guys out. I bet on the Oilers.
That was an awesome hockey game.
It was, and
potential Stanley Cup final.
Yeah, the boys teed it up that way, and I don't think it disappointed.
No, it was excellent.
I was quite surprised that Boston had that much juice coming off a back-to-back.
Yeah,
on a travel.
Yeah, the Boston they just play such solid hockey, good positional hockey. They made it difficult on Edmonton most of the night, as you mentioned, against a good Leaf team the night before. So
I love that tying goal because it just shows you that they can score in different ways. Like that was a fire drill. And there's just 3 Edmonton Oilers in the crease, pushing it over the line. I don't even know how it went in, but it goes in, right? You don't see that from the Leafs as much.
What killed me, though, is how the Boston Bruin player let the puck get to McDavid off the one draw. Like, that's the one thing you take away.
You got to deny it.
You angle and say, figure it out another way.
You watch Boston all year long, and they had a tremendous start, and I know a lot of it was credit towards the goaltending, and it was like they're not missing a beat with Patrice Bergeron and Krejci gone, but they are missing a beat without those guys because they don't close out games nearly like they did before when Patrice was on the ice.
They've blown 8 third-period leads this year, which is very un-Bruin-like.
8?
Maybe 9 after last night.
Maybe 9 after last night.
Yeah. I mean, 1-0.
And that is missing one of the best defensive players in the history
They're vulnerable. You heard it here first.
Okay, let's welcome him in. He is our Real Kyper and Bourne NHL head scout. Let's welcome in Jason Bukala. Books, what's going on, buddy?
Well, not much, not much today. Not much at all.
Like when you were actually working for a professional hockey team like the Florida Panthers, like you must have been sweating bullets this time of year.
It wasn't fun. It had its moments of fun and it had its moments. Like even before that, when I was in Nashville, we picked up Peter Forsberg at the end of his career. That was a great day. That was fun. But in Florida towards the end there, it was like, which way are we going to go here? The day we brought Lou back, that was kind of a fun day, but I don't know, man. It's boys, it is stressful. I'll tell you something else. When you're sitting in the boardroom and you're watching all these names fall off the board, literally in front of your face, it's like, like, what are we going to do here?
And is that what, say, the Toronto Maple Leafs might be going through right now? You're going, okay, we had some holes to fill and there's less spackle available all of a sudden.
So true. Good way to put it too, because we're getting down to the spackle here, fellas. Like it's not, I don't know, slim pickings. Like, what are you going to do? What do you want to sacrifice here? What do you want? That first rounder, draft capital wise? Do you really want to dip into your prospect pool that you do have right now for some of these names that are out there? I don't know. Like, I'm more apt at this point in time, definitely to float that first round pick than I am Minton, Cowan. I guess Niemela, if there would be a taker there. I broke down a lot of tape on Hildeby just in case somebody out there wanted a goalie, and got a lot of work to do there. So we've had these conversations, right? And you get into these positions that your position of weakness only gets, it's like you're digging a grave in your backyard right now. It's just getting deeper.
So where do you draw the line? Does it get to the point where some general managers are sitting there going, okay, I almost have to make a trade just for the sake of making a trade, because if I don't, people are going to be all over me on doing nothing here. Yet you can't make chicken salad out of chicken.
That's the truth, right? I'm not going down that way, but I'm not Tree. I don't have to front the media in Toronto. So like I'm in the background saying, I'm not just making a trade for the sake of making a trade. Now, having said that, I still think we got to beef up on the back end with one more right shot guy if I could. Let's not forget what some of these guys on the left did this year. Like I feel like Benoit's game and what he provided for our team over the last couple of months, especially, I feel like he did a really good job. Let's not discount what he's done and devalue some of the good things that we've done. But I don't know. And what do you do in the 2-hole, fellas? Do you want to keep Domi there and try and keep some? Because he's not arguably, for me, he's looked the most energetic he's looked all season long in the last 3 weeks. Like we need him to be the best version of himself down the stretch. So a lot of moving parts. I'm reluctant though to just make a trade for the sake of making a trade. I'd rather roll the dice with what I have.
So looking at all the trades today, Books, there's been obviously a lot of action. Ask you about a couple guys who you've probably watched as juniors because they're still young guys in the NHL. Casey Middlestat and Bowen Byram going a 1-for-1 trade. What did you make of how that shook out for those two teams?
I'm taking a breath here because I don't know if I should go down this road or not. But I'm gonna
go.
I'm gonna, because I love being with you guys, so this is good. I'm not a Casey Middlestat fan. I never have been. I don't want to sewer the player, but at the same token, like this is a guy that he's a good perimeter skill player. He can produce offense. He wins between 45 and 48% of his draws. Guys, he's got like I think 27 hits or less in the entire year, and things like that stand out for me when you're going to be going to a playoff team. Like you accidentally run into people in the National Hockey League. You just do. It's a fast game. You just run into people by accident, unless your back is to the boards the whole time and you never play between the dots. So I'm lukewarm on him.
Mm-hmm.
I think he is already the best version of himself. That's my vote. On the other hand, Byram, I think, has got top pairing upside. If he's healthy, he's had a few conkies, as we know. If he's healthy, I think he can play as a 1. Now, here's the thing. Where are we going to spend the money in Buffalo when we've got Power, Dahlin, and Byram in the future? It feels like the Ottawa Senators situation right now with their 3 lefty, doesn't it? So curious to see how that build-out goes. But on the surface, for me, straight up, the best player in the deal is Byram. It feels a need on the other side in the 2-hole. It is an upgrade on Johansson for Colorado. I get that, and they brought in Walker to take Byram's place for this year. So, but on the Middlestat thing there, I'm going to be interested to see when the games get really hard. There's some big teams in the West. When he starts getting leaned on, heavy, hard games and playoffs, I'm curious to see how he does.
Some general managers, like Barry Trotz, were saying that the prices were absolutely ridiculous. And now we see, Tarasenko go for a fourth, I guess. We've seen Mantha not get a first rounder. Like, is everybody coming down to earth here in the last 72 hours?
Well, two things. Tarasenko controlled where he was going, so you know how that works sometimes. Florida's a contending team. There's a huge Russian population, guys. I'm sure you're aware of this, but in the Miami area, there's a huge Russian population, like where Bob Rofsky lives and over there. Like, so they're comfortable in that area, kind of like in New York, like the Russians like to go to play in New York.
I think his family lives there too. I think he has family there.
Brighton Beach.
Yeah.
So there you go. Like it's a comfortable fit that way. And of course they're a contending outfit. So that's one. The other one, with Vegas, and this is where I, I've used this term and I'm going to keep using it because I kind of like it. Like, it just makes me itch every time Vegas makes a deal like this at this time of year. Like, they take on the full salary, they take on salary at this time of year, whether it be 50% or not. And they still have money in the bank. So that's a conversation for a different day, but it does, to your point, prove that there are deals out there to be had. If you're comfortable with the fit and you're comfortable with the capital coming back, I just don't know, with Toronto specifically, all they really have, fellas, is the first, right? I know we're doing the national show right now, but specifically for them, they got the first. I'm interested to see what Vancouver does. I think they're all in on the Gensel situation personally. Yeah. And I think that's going to be an interesting one to see play out.
So the Gensel to Vancouver thing seems like it has real legs. The idea that Lindholm could conceivably be traded, like, what are your thoughts on how they've handled what looked like was maybe Pettersson insurance and Lindholm hasn't fit? How has that shaken out much differently than you thought it would?
100% it has. Yeah. So a couple of different angles on it, Borny. Like when the Pettersson noise was starting to kind of creep into conversation, I'm sitting there going, are you serious? Like that, like, honestly, we worked so hard to bring an elite franchise player in our system. How can that happen, right? Because he certainly didn't earn that. You know what I mean? Like, some guys, they wear on you and they earn the conversation, if you will. That wasn't one. The entirety of the Lindholm situation, he started out, we've seen this before. It's like when you make a coaching change. Sometimes guys get a bump early when they arrive in a new team, fits well. He plays in the 2. Now he's playing in the 3. And he doesn't look at all comfortable. He's a shell of himself. Like, I have to say that. Like, some of this has to be on them too, because we're talking about multi-million-dollar athletes playing a kid's game, and people are paying big bucks to go watch them play. So it's up to you to play better than he has. But this whole other conversation that's creeping in now, that they can move him again. And don't forget, he doesn't have any trade protection. None. Like, technically that could happen. That I haven't seen that in my career. Full disclosure, I've never seen that. Like, pick up a rental and throw and obviously spend assets and then move them again. I've never seen that, but that noise is making the rounds. I've heard from more than one person today. I'm sure you guys have too. Like, even Boston's been swimming in those waters.
So, Books, when you're sitting there with your group, around your general manager, like, how often does chemistry come up? And it's like, okay, it looks good on paper, and then it's like, even with Lindholm in Vancouver, where does it go from, let's give it time, to, is it a chemistry thing?
Yeah, that's interesting because, when you make a deal that far in advance, you're obviously hoping that there's going to be a fit chemistry wise. Like, you're going to get the move in, you're going to be not living in the hotel because you know how it goes, Kyper. Some of these guys move in at deadline and they live in the residence inn until the end of the year. You know what I mean? So, this gives them a chance to get comfortable ahead of time in his real life. So the fit, though, in terms of the way that the Canucks are playing or trying to play right now, it seems disjointed for him. I do have to say this, though. I believe he's a better player than what he's showing right now. I still think he has good value for the Canucks down the stretch and into playoffs. I try and make the Gensel deal and still make sure I have Lindholm somehow. How that happens, I have no idea, to be perfectly, transparent. But I still think that you give this an opportunity to run its course. He's a right shot, wins a lot of draws on his strong side. We all know how important it is to start with the puck in playoffs. So let's not just peel it all back and strip it down again. Let's be cautious with our thinking.
So looking at the Western Conference, obviously the Canucks are going to have to deal with Colorado, who also added Sean Walker and shipped out Ryan Johansson. I guess, why don't I start there and just get your thoughts on that addition? Does Walker move the needle for you?
Walker's I think it's one in for one out, but they're different. Byram is a transporter. He's got better legs. He'll front the play. He'll join as a second layer more often than Walker will. Walker can do that, guys. Like he will do that in fits and starts. But what he'll do differently is he'll be blocking more shots, and he'll have a little bit more bump to his game. He's not a giant. He's like 5'11", but I think he's like $197. So he's plenty strong enough, right? So Walker's more an interior defender, stronger. I think that really on balance, that just makes their team the same on the back end, if that makes any sense. Yeah. Really what they were looking for was the upgrade in the two-hole.
Mm-hmm. So, Books, the other day we mentioned Hanifin. I mentioned Hanifin as a match for possibly the Tampa Bay Lightning. It wouldn't be uncommon for agents or reps to go and talk to clubs to see if there's an extension. It happened with Lindholm from Anaheim to Boston when he signed a 8-year deal with a 6.5 AAV. My understanding is that may have taken place already between Hanifin and the Tampa Bay Lightning, and now it's just a matter of whether they can get a deal done on the compensation here. So where are you on Hanifin and the potential of Tampa Bay making a long-term investment, much like Boston did with Lindholm?
It feels a lot the same to me, Kyper, to be honest. Like it feels exactly the same. And what was interesting today, too, I don't know if you guys noticed, when Henrique's deal got shuffled around, Tampa absorbed 25 points on that contract. Mm-hmm. So that tells me something that, they obviously have a plan in place where they felt like they can pick up some capital somewhere else because they still had enough in the bank to maybe go and do what they're about to do, which I believe is get Hanifin. Here's something else for our listeners and viewers to be aware of. When a player goes to places like Nashville, Carolina, Dallas, the Florida Panthers, and if Hanifin's going to be a 1 in Toronto and he commands $10 million a year, I'm just throwing a number out there, okay? If he's going to be a 1 in Toronto at 10, he's a 1 in Tampa at 8.5. Because your state tax, your cost of living, all the rest. And then of course the player might say to himself, well, I might take a little bit less because of the way I want to live down here too. It's like there's a lot that goes into these deals. And I absolutely believe that his representation for sure has talked to Tampa or whoever it is about, because the Boston Bruins was another team that, he's a Boston kid. I thought that they would try to make that fit. I'm not saying that it still might not happen. What I'm saying is that there's going to be a conversation had to see if there's a deal in the drawer for sure, in my estimation.
Yeah, I wonder if that fourth that they absorb for taking that money on doesn't eventually just go back to Calgary. That's like one of the assets they end up moving. So we'll keep an eye on that. I was asking about the West before because looking at the top of the Central, Colorado adds a couple of players. Dallas has added Tanev, and they brought up that Stankoven. Is that Stankoven's off to a really good start for this Dallas team? Can he be an NHL contributor now?
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you like
about you know what? And some of their aces that they could bring up in playoffs, fellas. The Maverick Borks, Liam Bichelle when he comes back over from Europe. He's on loan right now, but they're about to end over there. Dallas is structured and loaded. Like they got a lot of great things going on there. Jim Nill, Joe McDonnell. We've talked about it, I think, before. Like they were in Detroit before when Detroit was really good. And they came over to Dallas, and all they've done is repeated the same sort of model. And their depth is outstanding in Dallas. So, this isn't a one-year thing for the Stars, by the way. This is a long-term play. They're going to lose some veteran guys. Eventually Joe Pavelski is going to turn 50 and he won't be in the league anymore. But, until that happens, does Logan Stankoven's put him in the lineup. This guy plays like his hair's on fire. He's hard to defend. He goes to all the hard areas. and he's an energetic, he's an infectious young player. Love that kid.
In our first hour, Books, the name Colton Parayko came up quite often for the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I'm just wondering, where are you on Colton? JB says to me, with 6 years left and an AAV of 6.5 and maybe some wear and tear on him, maybe Doug Armstrong would be very willing to get rid of that contract. And I'm saying, no, he's probably looking for something significant, and it might be rather costly. Where are you on Colton?
I think it's costly still, to be honest with you. Like, I think anybody who plays the way that he plays and in his mold. So listen, it's really a two-pronged question, isn't it? Do I want to trade for him? Yeah. Do I want to take on that term? No. Like, I don't want that. I don't want that part of it. So, you know, it's curious how to handle it. I guess if you're in the total win now window, listen, the Toronto Maple Leafs aren't winning the Stanley Cup if Colton Parayko comes to town. Okay, guys? But if Colton Parayko somehow fit into, I don't know, the Florida Panthers right now, or the Colorado Avalanche for that matter, it's a different vibe, that trade, if you get my drift. So I don't think this ages well, Borny. If I don't know what side of the fence you're on there, but I don't think it ages well, and that would be my high-end reluctance to make a deal like that. I'd go down the Dumba. I'd go down the Dumba cave before I went down that right now at 3.9 and see if Arizona can absorb some cash. I don't know how many contracts they've ate so far, because that's curious. You know, they've ate a lot of money over the years, so I don't know what they have left, but I'd go down those waters instead.
Is there any names out there that you feel like might have value for a team that, you know, and maybe not on the radar? Not you know, I know we've been turning over every rock and most of the names are out there, but is this just anyone that you like more than you would say public consensus does?
Well, before Nash Vegas went on this run, I really like the Carrier kid on the back end there. You know, I really do. He's not a giant. He's like 5'11", $180, soaking wet, but he is hard to play against. Front sit, I bet you he's got 130 blocks. I haven't looked it up, but I bet you he does. Like, that's the way he plays. He's really hard to play against. It's not too often in the league anymore that you get a guy who's undersized, but he jumps out at guys and, you know, he blocks it quickly and effectively and can return to position. You know, like David Savard, that'd be a nice ad, right, for a playoff team. But David Savard has to play between the dots. If he gets outside the dots chasing a defensive play, he gets his return to net front. He's got a delay in there, right, guys? He's not as fast as some of these other guys. Carrier does both. I really like that kid. I don't think that's going to happen now, right. But you know, isn't that interesting? Because you know how guys like Jimmy Rutherford make deals early in the sequence or early in the trade season? I bet you could have had maybe Carrier 2 weeks ago. You can't have him now.
Till they won 8 in a row or whatever it's been. Yeah.
One more for me, Books, before we let you go. I know you're right back on the phones the moment we let you go. So I know that we talked about Guentzel being linked to the Vancouver Canucks, but where are you on the pressure on Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh to get this right here? Because he is really coming off of the Karlsson trade that maybe had something to do with sinking their season. I'm not sure yet. We'll see how it completely plays out here, but he can't get this wrong on Guentzel.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And here's where I am with it. I do believe that ownership there still felt like they gave him a mandate to a degree that we have to be the best version of ourselves with what we still have here. And so when he presented the Karlsson option, they thought that was going to be a good fit. Okay. But in the big picture, everybody like the three of us know, and I don't know I shouldn't speak for you guys. It didn't feel right when it happened to me. I'm like, are you serious? Like, this just doesn't feel right. I can go get 2 players for the cost of that. I need to improve this roster on the fringes. Fast forward to today, what we know, I think the market for Guentzel is a small one. So I think he's actually lost a semblance of control over what that return is going to be. So Pittsburgh's in a pickle, fellas. The farm system's way below average. They do have a little bit of draft. I read recently where Kyle said he's got all this draft capital. I'd love to run into him at a pub and have a beer and look over his draft board, because that's not draft capital. You know, that's just not good enough. So they're in a tough spot. It's going to be interesting to see what the return is. And more importantly, I don't know if you guys noticed this or not. This is a concern of mine. when Pittsburgh was bad a long time ago, Kipper, you remember? Empty seats at the Igloo, right?
Before the lockout, before Sid.
Yeah. I mean, empty seats. And last night, I think, was it CBJ last night? The building's half empty. I know it's CBJ, but it's still the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I don't know. Huge task at hand there. A lot of lifting to do.
Hey, awesome stuff, man. Really appreciate your time always, Books.
Thanks, Books. That's good stuff.
Hey, no problem, fellas. Hey, we might have nothing to do on Friday, so I'll just come over and sit with Sammy in the corner on the couch and drink coffee if that's okay.
Buddy, come hang. We'd love to have you.
All right. Go attack, Sammy. Owen Sound attack. Go attack. See you, fellas.
Thanks, bud.
He is Jason Bukala, former NHL scout and writer now with the Sportsnet.ca. And, of course, he's got the Pro Hockey Group as well.
Yeah. Attacker struggling.
Are they?
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Are we almost done the season?
Yeah, and they have a streak of, I think it's 13 straight 30-win seasons, which is, I think, a CHL record because they're just always good, not great.
How many games do they play?
They play 62, but they're in danger of not hitting it. They've been struggling. But never know in the playoffs. We'll see.
And that has been your attack update.
Thank you.
All right. Where do you want to go? To game?
You want to do game time or do you want to do my
You got any more trades?
I do have
Let's do it after the break. Let's do game time, then do the fake trade.
Okay, do the game time.
Okay. Do the game time.
Do the time of games.
All right. It is, in fact, game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app for the latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Looking at the board for tonight, 3 massive favorites. The Buffalo Sabres are in Toronto to take on the Leafs. The Leafs are a huge favorite at minus 185. The Detroit Red Wings are in Colorado to take on the Avalanche, and the Ottawa Senators are in Anaheim to take on the Ducks. All minus one of them. Leafs are minus 180. Colorado is minus 190, and Ottawa is minus 190. If you parlay those 3 together, the faves, it is a plus 258. And I'm looking at you to tell me who screws me and why is it the Ottawa Senators?
That could be it.
Or is it the Leafs?
The Sabres have been, just dummying the Leafs. They've played them twice this year.
Would you like some stats on that?
Go ahead, please do.
The Sabres have won both their meetings with the Maple Leafs this season, outscoring them 15-7. 6-4 in the first one, 9-3 in the latest one. And the Sabres have won 3 straight games versus the Maple Leafs and 6 of their last 8 meetings, going 6-2.
That's just ridiculous.
It's really not great, Bob.
So, in your parlay, my parlay here, that's not even a great number, but you think it's the Leafs that screws you and not the Sens.
No, I think no.
You're telling me the Leafs are going to lose 2 in a row going into Boston tomorrow night?
I'm not saying it's not going to happen.
But I think that there's a big-time overlook factor here for the Leafs and the Sabres.
Well, between the deadline and 2 Bruins games, it's tough to even be aware you're playing the Sabres at this point.
Yeah. So that's what I had here. And I was just looking at the NHL Central. Do you have the standings in front of you there, Borny?
I do.
The NHL Central Division. How far back are the Colorado Avalanche?
Colorado Avalanche are
4.
4 points back, 1 game in hand on Dallas.
They are plus 360 to win that division.
Ooh, I like that.
Their trades they made today, you would have to say that they improved. You can say what you say about Middlestat. Clearly, Books isn't the biggest fan of him, but I think that helps their center depth. He's definitely better than Johansson. They add Sean Walker, probably going to go on a bit of a run. It's not bad value for them to win that division at plus 360.
I will note, to not offend our Jets viewers, that by points percentage, the Jets are the best team in the division. They're ahead of Dallas and Colorado. So,
did you watch the Dallas comeback off of San Jose last night? It was goofy.
Yeah,
they were done.
So I asked about that Stankoven kid. I like him.
Yeah.
He's got some.
His shoulder pad's way too big.
Oh, thank God you said it. He looks like a football player.
No, his hockey style is not great.
He looks atrocious.
Seems to be fine.
Looks like a bit of a Ninja Turtle. It's not great.
It's just carrying around. Take off Emmett Smith's shoulder pads and resume playing.
Anthony DeClaire looked okay last night.
Yeah,
I didn't mind
him.
I didn't mind him in Florida. Maybe he's just. Maybe I just noticed him too much because we were focused, obviously, on the Leaf Flyer second round. But I could see him moving somewhere.
He's a guy who scored 31 a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We know he can skate. Like, that's always useful if you're a team that doesn't have useful guys in your bottom six. So.
Can I interest you in a Anthony Duclair, Jan Ruda package from the San Jose Sharks? Okay. Wow. Not everyone at once.
Couple of middling players off the worst team in the league.
I just heard some. Those are groans, boys. All right. And that was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app for latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
All right, let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll pick up a little bit more on the Pittsburgh Penguins because you only had the Sid Crosby trade with Mitch Marner earlier in our show.
Yeah, well, I may have something else after the break.
Do you have another one?
Potentially. We'll have to see.
All right, because I'm hearing stuff.
What are you hearing?
They're not gonna
We're going to go pay some bills, and then we're going to come back and talk about the stuff.
Teams and things?
Yes.
Oh, I love that.
Tease
Yes.
that is,
All right.
Kippy.
More.
After the break, stuff about things and teams.
There you go. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sam McKee. The Real Kyper and Bourne Show. So, there seems to be some. There's maybe a bit of a momentum shift into a lot more focus on Sid Crosby.
Okay.
I'd say in the last little while here, and there seems to be a narrative out there that he wants to compete. He doesn't want to lose in the next 3 or 4 years. And there's some people, and I've had 2 different calls linking Sid to Colorado today. But I'll tell you right now that it's not from people that I believe that are in the know right now. It just seems to be there's an energy out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'm starting to look around too. And then I see our good buddies on Missing Curfew say, are we on the verge of Sid Crosby leaving to chase another mug? I'm like, okay, that's
So a third person saying something.
like, I'm sticking to
I
what
know.
I've said in our conversations in the past. I see this guy as a one-man organization, and I don't believe for 1 second that there's anything to it, but people think, and I think we might hear a little bit more of this even when Jake Gensel gets traded.
Well, they're not. To be clear, it's not going to happen before Friday. So, like a Sid.
Don't look at me like I have the answer, because I'm telling you right
Why
now
are you
I don't.
making that clear?
Because you're going to trade one of the goats in the history of the league to in 2 days with no smoke. I don't know. Crazy to me.
What I have heard was just that the Gensel thing is not something he wants to happen, right? Like that's a good player that they have and a competitive
winner.
guy who still thinks they can
Yes.
make the playoffs and whatever. Do they play tomorrow? What would an L do for them tomorrow to push them over the line that this year's a write-off? Yeah.
If they need
Well,
another
listen, that's
They
very
have
interesting food for thought.
they've made attempts.
Who's made attempts?
Kyle Dubas, multiple attempts to sign Jake Gensel.
Right. Gensel does not want to do that.
Well,
so
he I think he will if
they give him all the money.
yeah, but is Jake Gensel in a position now where he rethinks about it? Like Sid's a 90, 100-point guy, and it's not like you think he's going to fall off the face of the earth next year either.
Buddy, this can't happen. Kyle Dubas cannot take over the Pittsburgh Penguins and 4 months later trade Jake Gensel and Sidney Crosby. That can't happen. That won't happen.
Would you like to hear my Sidney Crosby fake trade that I came up with?
We have one for you if you're interested.
Love it.
Colorado has 2 firsts in the next 3 years, which, you'd burn. Would you trade everything? Trade the Rocky
I don't
Mountains?
know. Again, if Sid specifically wants to go anywhere, it automatically devalues
Right.
the
Yeah, it's
the
not
price,
just a bidding war.
right?
He just,
Exactly. You're now in a position where This guy saved your organization.
I bet you Penguins could get
Saved
Casey
it.
Middlestat back.
Right? You're not in a position to completely hoard here. This is about whatever Sid
I
wants.
tell you, I want it
to be honest with you.
Not because I want Pittsburgh to lose Sid or I want drama. I want Sidney Crosby in the playoffs. I want to see him win more cups. I don't want
sad Sid.
No, and I also
Can I tell you
I
something?
take back the thing I just said. I do want the drama.
I
as well.
saw a sad Sid the other night.
Against Edmonton, he's
Sidney Crosby.
He's got his head in his hands, bud.
Listen to me. That is a horrific look for the National Hockey League.
Horrible.
If this guy, for the first time I've ever seen Sid Crosby, I saw no hope in him. And that's a bad thing.
The Illuminati's going to make it happen. The league wants it. I want him out of there.
So, having said all this, I will present to you my fake trade.
Please.
You know who has a lot of great history with Sidney Crosby, multiple cups? Jimmy Rutherford. He runs the Vancouver Canucks.
Okay.
A lot of connections there. Vancouver Canucks going for it, looking to make trades. Sidney Crosby to the Vancouver Canucks for their first-round pick in 2025. Tom Willander, who is their top prospect, guy that they're, 6'1", right shot, Swedish defenseman. Okay. And then Brock Besser and Niels Höglander for Sidney Crosby.
So if I'm Kyle Dubas, I'm saying you've traded me. I think it's pronounced. Is it Villander pronounced, or is it whatever? Villander a first. Höglander fine. Besser okay. Yeah, I mean, no. Right? Like if you're Pittsburgh, no.
Okay.
I want
2 firsts.
Who's the best player not in the NHL? That's the guy I want. 2 firsts. Yeah. Now
What do you think?
No, it's got to be futures and prospects. Like you can't trade for Sid and then
the trade is 1 for 1.
you can't.
Yeah, but
You can't. It's just
isn't
about
Tom Villander, one of the top prospects
Yes.
outside the NHL. 2 first-round picks
it's Sam. It's a good deal
for
Sid.
yeah.
Yeah, and Pitt should bite on that.
Should bite on that.
Yeah. That's your
I
future
made
coming
2
up.
trades
That's
today
your future coming up.
that
Okay,
Kyper likes.
let's put Sid in a Toronto Maple Leaf uniform right now. Okay?
Sid in a Toronto Police.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect for Marner. Done.
No, again, it's stupid.
Yeah.
See, you went from actually being okay intelligence to just being a dumb man. like that.
We need that drop, by the way. No, Derek's not here, Tristan.
Okay, put him in the uniform for
Yes.
me. Walk me through what it would take.
2 first-rounders and Cowan.
I mean, if I'm Pittsburgh now, I'm listening because
Oh my God, done.
2
Is this-
firsts in here.
What are we talking
Okay,
about
and
here?
What
Sid
else?
is 8.7 this year and next.
Yeah. That is worth it. That is like you're getting a premier leader in the history of the game, still in his prime.
Yeah.
Come on.
It's Sidney
What else?
Crosby.
Okay, two first-rounders, Cowan, and what else?
Bobby McMahon, I think you got to throw in there.
God.
Sprinkle in a little
Hey,
Bobby
hey.
McMahon.
You bought a car. You're not
Toby
losing it
Niemela?
because because of the mats. Okay,
I would throw in literally anything.
Yeah.
please.
You know,
There's not
it's
one
Windshield
funny.
wiper fluid.
It's funny watching what Leo Messi did for Inter Milan. Not Inter Milan. Miami.
Inter Miami. Yeah.
Putting
yeah.
Sid in Vancouver or Toronto would rock the hockey world.
Rocket.
Yeah, of course. I mean, any Canadian team. Just put them.
Here's
No,
the
I
thing.
don't want him in Ottawa right now.
You don't want them on the.
I don't want him in Montreal right
No.
now.
No.
Uh, Edmonton's got 97. They just paid for Scheifele, so they're not going shopping for Sid. It's Vancouver or Toronto.
Any Sid trade would rock the hockey world, regardless of where he goes. Like him going to Colorado would rock the hockey world.
Yeah.
Rock it.
So
Okay. Well, hey,
That's
listen. Anything's possible. Gretzky got traded. As the expression goes.
I'll say another thing too is I was adamant a week ago, 2 weeks ago, that this guy's gonna finish. When I saw him coming off of these tough losses in Calgary and Edmonton, I'm like, Sid, you want 3 more years of this?
I don't think Sid is emotionally ready to
Right?
go play for another hockey club.
Like, you are the ultimate hockey 24/7. You live it, you breathe it.
You know,
And you're going to breathe 3 or 4 years of what Kyle's cooking right now?
yeah, well, if that happens, then Pittsburgh is tearing her down, right? Like, you're tearing it down. You know, you're not winning a cup with Malkin and Letang at the heart of your team.
So I don't think it's going to happen, but it's more realistic today than it was for me
Yeah.
yesterday.
You know, you look at these guys who are players for life. They're one team for life, and then the team's no good, and Patrick Kane goes, I can't do this, or the team decides like it's not whatever, and all of a sudden he goes to Detroit, looks pretty good. You know, Brett Favre went and played for the Minnesota Vikings.
But everybody does. Gretzky, Messier,
Only though Mario did.
except for Mario.
I love people throwing the Sid trades now.
Yeah.
2 first-round picks, Easton Count, Liljegren, and Martin Jones for Crosby.
And
It's like-
Buick.
it's like, what the hell are we
But
talking?
Mario,
Yeah.
go find
They were
his
good in his
chart,
tail end.
okay? So he still had, in the 90s, Yager. You know, he had some good players around him. And then there was that little window. He went away,
Mhm.
and then he comes back, and lo and behold, he's playing with the next you.
Yeah,
for
he
the
played
league.
05, 06.
Right?
He played with Sid. He
Play
played
with Sid.
And he
And
was
now
like a-
you've got purpose,
Yeah.
and you've got hope, and you've got growth. Sid doesn't have that.
no, was it cash, hope, and jobs? He's got nothing. Yeah.
Just $100 million and
Yeah.
the best life ever.
Yeah.
But not
Yeah.
fun going to the rink now
All
for
right.
him.
Well, hey, listen, that is food for
All right,
thought.
food for thought.
I support Rutherford and Tree Living phoning Kyle.
And saying, come on, hand him over.
Come on.
Come on.
Come on.
Just trade him. Trade
on.
him.
Hey,
Trade the goat to me.
All
you
right.
traded for Carlson.
Yeah,
Come
it's
on.
true.
You can do anything.
Not afraid to swing big anyway.
I mean, not to turn news and notes back into bash Kyle time, but just not a great summer. You know, didn't put them in the right position. They had cap space,
Yeah.
and he spent it on bad things.
They
What's
had
he-
some bad deals on
So you
the
got
books,
7
man.
years,
For sure, they had, some, but they
6 years
Raquel
contract.
contracts.
they spent,
stinks.
but they spent $25 million on Christian Jari, Carlson, and Ryan Graves, or $20 million on those three.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they had to move guys out, which, you know, they got rid of Gramland off the books.
Yeah.
And what do you want, Gramland, by the way? He's available.
Yeah. My goodness.
All right,
But
good
it's
talk.
back before the feeling in Pitt is like it's as bad as it was before Sid showed up. Just right in that small little window where it was like,
Really?
and then they pick number 1 and they've never looked back.
Yeah. All
Anyways,
Okay.
what else we got? Sandine.
Yeah, he sent a contract extension. Rather
Wow.
a rather large one.
Who are they
fellas.
bidding against? They even $4.5 million for 5
Is
years.
it 4.5?
Yes.
I've
It
watched
is
him.
a
He's
5-year,
still
$23
kinda,
million contract.
You can't
5-year,
you
$23
can't
million.
predict what he's going to do out there.
And what does he do? Like, he's not an offensive producer. He's not a defensive stalwart.
They are so hung up on getting new defense. That's what I heard.
Washington is.
Yes,
So-
and that's why they're in talks on Chikrin too.
Washington is.
Yes.
You think Jensen out? Like, they'll turn
Yes.
over a couple of bodies there.
So
Um,
they've got Carlson and
He's at the end of his.
Fairway or Farragut.
Oh, yeah.
What's his name?
Fever. Yeah, I know the guy.
tough.
That's it. That's all they have.
Yeah.
Whatever his name is.
General Manager Brian McClellan said he would like to add young players to the mix even while selling, similar to the trade he made for the Maple Leafs for Sandine. Getting high picks and flipping them could still happen before the trade deadline Friday. That would be ideal, McClellan said this week. That's the type of thing we're looking to do. Yes.
It's like AI generated.
You read that better than Game Time.
Thank you. Well, they always said I'm a great reader.
So that's an interesting contract. Actually, let me correct the interesting part. That's too much money. Just the odds of him outperforming that contract, which is the point when you sign someone to 5 years, are basically nil. Like, he might give you the value if he stays healthy, which he also hasn't done a ton. So that's a weird one. And then Nick Seeler signed to stay in Philly. That contract is a 4-year deal for $2.7 million per year.
Yeah.
I don't know. You know,
See, there's that.
don't mind the dollar amount.
No, don't mind it at all. And the analytics are great on him.
Yeah.
So
he just hasn't been this guy. He's been a third pair guy, right? He's played. He's
yeah, but-
29 years old.
But that will hold its value,
I think so too.
and you can flip that anytime you want.
Is it legal to sign contracts that are no trade? Did he not get some sort of coverage?
Oh, it's allowed?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Seems like everyone gets one these days.
Sorry, not to go back to Sid, but we just got a text that Sid may never play another playoff game right now.
Yeah, that's actually a fair point. If you look at Pittsburgh's arc, what reason do you have to believe that next year they're a better team? How are they improved?
Sorry to go back to it, but that just like hit me like a load of bricks.
Well, I mean, they lose Jeff Carter. There's $3 million they can spend. Jansen Harkins makes nothing.
Ugh.
They don't lose anyone who makes anything this year. So
And he's still shooting pucks in the net.
And he's still
turning his
producing.
hand over on a faceoff.
that was pretty nasty.
That was nasty.
I don't know how they're supposed to get better. Raquel has 4 more years after this at $5 million.
I wonder what they.
Riley Smith, they must trade. They'll trade Riley Smith this year. He's gone.
What about their head coach Sullivan? Like this guy, I don't know.
Dubas came in and said he's not going. He's not going anywhere. Basically,
Well, he may have as much or more power with the Fenway Group than even Kyle. They
So-
Fenway Group loves him.
yeah.
Loves the coach.
Yes, loves the coach.
That's an
So
interesting dynamic.
I wonder if they would outright sell. I wonder if they would look at selling. Like, does Jeff Carter want to go play somewhere? You know, as a centerman at 39 years old.
Oh, they should be selling. But anyways,
I don't know. I mean, is there going to be a demand for Jeff Carter?
No.
so by the time we come on the air tomorrow, how many more trades do you think we'll have had?
I think we'll see some tonight. Is there some?
Not a lot of teams
is there-
playing tonight.
Is there
Only 3
a
games.
few predictions that Gensel will be gone by tonight?
Well, there was the rumor that they wanted to wrap this up by tonight. It's funny with all the different like moving parts that have to go into trades now because of the flat salary cap. You don't have time during the day, during the one day to do this, and it's just sort of expanded backwards. Last year there were 16 trades in the 2 days leading up to trade deadline. So we're at 6 or whatever already. I would imagine we'll see more trades tonight. And
There'll always be a handful of those trades where you're like, okay, where did he play? Who is he?
oh yeah,
Give me a bio on him, please. Does he shoot left?
yeah, that's always the tough part. Can't follow every single
It's all
guy in the
right.
league.
Yeah.
Well, we may get a few surprises here as well.
Hope
Yeah.
so. Hope the Leafs surprise us.
Few surprises to go. Tarasenko, I don't think we talked about this in the NHL hour. Any reason to think that, I don't know, we're blaming the poor return on the no trade? Is that kind of the consensus Books was implying?
Yeah, that there's limited opportunities for, I think, Ottawa to max out a deal.
Yeah.
And either he stays the rest of the season or he moves to Florida, I would imagine. But
Okay.
outside of that, he's not a premier scorer anymore. He's he's there to add depth to the organization. And if he plays nicely in the sandbox, and it appears that, he's got the blessing of Bobrovsky, who probably runs the show there in many ways, one of the leaders. If he's happy, he's down there and they can hang out. Maybe it's a nice mix.
There you go. We'll wait and see. I got to go to TV. Leafs Sabres.
All right.
Oh, you're on the TV tonight.
I'm on the telly. Vizio.
Awesome.
Wow, that broadcast got a whole lot more handsome, buddy.
I'm debating on whether to go or not.
To the game?
Oh,
Yeah.
why not? Go see the Leafs lose to the Sabres.
I
Be fun.
just get tired. And I got a little stuffy nose.
Is that from Slapshot?
Our
the
thanks
Vet Killer?
to Jason Bukala and Brad May. And we're back tomorrow on the Real Kyper and Bourne Show.